guys. Welcome back to My Steps to Sobriety, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stefan Neff. Today is another fantastic day for an interview. And it's going to be an amazing interview because I've got a fellow addict here. She's addicted to psychology. And that is cool. I mean, that is an addiction I can go behind. So I've got Kirsten Hunter, who is not just an addict to psychology, but also she is a fellow author. And she's one of these bloody overachievers. You know, you don't just publish one book. Nah, why don't I publish 6 at a time? And then what I do this year, I'm a bit bored. Why don't I do 4 children's books? Why not? Oh, I should write a series, shouldn't I? So I'm in awe of this woman's productivity, and I can't wait to learn more about Kirsten Hunter. What drives this woman to new levels of achievements constantly? Who is the woman that has that? Who is she now, and where did that come from? But more importantly, where's it going? My goodness. So, Kirsten Hunter, welcome to my show.
Oh, lovely to see you, Nev. How are you?
Very, very well. Thank you very much for asking. You are an amazing woman when one looks at your achievements, because you have been a psychologist for many, many years now. And you have thrived, and you have got a private practice in which you blossomed, and you described yourself in the preamble to this interview as a woman who loves psychology, who loves her job. And that is Absolutely. So beautiful to hear after 20 years, for crying out loud. I mean, that is an achievement. So well done for that. But what really intrigues me is, why did you become a psychologist? Was there one day when you were 6 years old, you said, Mummy, I'm going to become a psychologist, you know?
Do you know what? Can I just say, it is true. I've been a psychologist for 21 years, private practice for 18 years, and I love my job more and more. So I'm 45 now. I'm going to be a bit too excessively excited in the future. I know, because I already am. I really, really love it. And when people come here, they say, you love your job, don't you? I hear it all the time. And I do. I've honestly got the best job in the world. If you Google me, that is what comes up. Best Excellent. Job in the world. Yeah.
Oh, how cool is that? What makes it a best job?
Because, I love people. I have a very analytical brain. I'm very methodical. I'm a bit of a beagle. if I don't understand something, I'll keep going. I am a very optimistic person. So it's a little bit like if a builder was to go into a reno house and they can see what can be done. And they don't just see the work, they get exhilarated by the outcome. And mental health equals quality of life. So what's more important? And so I get to see people go through that journey, come out the other side. Yeah. I also work pretty fast, and because I want to fit more people in. And so, I'm literally booked out all year. Like it's a problem. Yeah. So I love my job. I cannot convey that enough.
But so how did you end there? Why did you choose psychology? So I'm interested in how humans think and behave and feel, but also I make a living out of that. Yeah. So how did that come about?
Well, very interesting story. I have a beautiful mum. I'm incredibly blessed. I mean, what an amazing start to life. And she fostered children through my childhood. And the first one she fostered 1 week before I was born. So I grew up into a household of foster children, and over my life, we had 17.
Wow.
So most of them came for about 6 months. 4 of them came for their whole childhood. So my mum was their mum. And I have one biological sister as well. So I grew up with a very interesting situation, I guess. And it was normal to me to be exposed to people of all walks of life. And it was very normal to me to understand how the human condition can be smashed around by trauma. And I was kind of, I think I was the kid, right? So the kids would arrive and the parents would be quite scary. And then I was the kid. I was quite safe for them. So I would see this child who would be approaching, who would be just barbed wire a real asshole of a kid, because that was their survival mechanism, keep you away. And I could always see who they really were. And then I got to see the beautiful person come through when they felt safe. And that transformation is psychology. Psychology is a study of emotions, behavior, thoughts, trauma, meaning, attachment, safety. And so, yeah, I think I grew up a psychologist, if that makes sense. And I just, but I didn't know what it was. And then when I was in grade 10, I literally heard of the profession for the first time and went, oh, is that what it's called? And so I just always knew I'd be a psychologist. And
natural born psychologist, literally.
Literally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, because for many others, psychologists or people who become counselors or mentors or whatever shape or color of helping they decide to go into, often it comes from a background of their own trauma. And then working through it, and then coming out the other end stronger and wanting to make a sense of their darkness that they have gone through. But in your case, literally, it was not a story of darkness. It was a story of actually naturally becoming more gifted and skilled in a shall I say, subconscious level. You literally lived and breathed psychology before you ever knew what psychology was.
Absolutely. Can I give you an example?
Yeah.
I was, I think I was 9 years old, maybe 8, definitely not older. And there was a girl, her name was Sam, and she was with us for 6 months. She was a year older. And she, her mother had schizophrenia. And so in the middle of the night, one night, her mother arrives at the door. And her mother comes in and says, I've got to talk to Sam. And Sam says to me, Kirsty, whatever you do, don't leave. Because, that's reasonable to ask of a 9-year-old. And and we're in bunk beds. No worries. So the mother comes in and the mother says, could you please leave? And I said, no. I grew up quite ballsy because, that was the world. And anyway, so there I am. And the mother crawls into bed and says, Sam, I've burnt down the house. But don't worry, I did it for God. Gordon O. Denver, John Denver's brother. Her schizophrenia, she was obsessed with John Denver. And in her delusion, God, John Denver's brother, apparently called Gordon, don't even know, could Google it, told her to burn down the house. So then the mother went, good job done. Off she went, no comforting the daughter. And Samantha went to sleep crying in my arms. And she wasn't crying for her mother's mental health or for the house. She was crying because her collection of rubbers was burnt, was gone. And I went, oh, that's schizophrenia. Okay, moving on. See what I mean? It was, yeah. And I love my mum very much. I personally wouldn't expose my child to what I was exposed to. To be honest, but I wasn't traumatized by it. I genuinely wasn't. I would say that I became streetwise very quickly. Yeah.
And I think that is so beautiful what you say there. We are living in a society where we go to the supermarket to get our meat, and so therefore people do no longer kill. Yet, if you're living on a farm, you grow up. Yes, okay, that's my sheep, and then okay, now it's lamb chops. Yeah, and that is normal. That is absolutely normal. So we have moved as a society towards a state where certain things that were part and parcel of mankind are no longer there. Grief, people do no longer die at home. They die somewhere in somewhere else. Therefore, children do no longer get exposed to the cycle of birth and death. No, it's all sort of very strange. Here you were, however, there was not this protective, artificial kind of thing, but you saw it from an early stage, and you saw it as normal. You saw it as part of our life.
I lived in the village. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that is beautiful. There is a strength in that. And that's a beautiful, if you see typically what happens, take the children. I mean, here we know already you're writing your children's book, so you might as well take an example there. If a child falls down and ouches himself, the very first thing mum comes, oh, come in here, have a sweet, have a lolly, here's a sugar fix. Instead of just sitting there with the child and taking it in its arms, said, yeah, it does hurt, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let's wait a bit. Let's wait a bit. And it's normal to feel that pain. It's normal to cry. You're absolutely fine. Love you to bits. And it will pass. That emotion will pass. That would be a beautiful lesson to teach.
That's a great example. Yeah.
Isn't it? Exactly. Yeah. Instead, we are from the word go, no. Quick fix, quick resolution, quick whatever it is. So therefore, for you, it was normalized to see the various degrees of pathology, but also of normality, because nothing is black and white. Nothing is there's always yin and yang. But so even in darkness, there's light, and in sickness, there can be a beauty there, and so on. So wow. Yeah. Was your mum a psychologist, or how did she deal with that?
My mother is a mother hen. She's a lover. She's a nurturer, and she's just, everything's natural to her. Wow. Yeah, she's beautiful. She's just gorgeous. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so that's cool. What a beautiful story. What a beautiful
Can I tell you another funny story? My mum, she doesn't even know that she does things. She was involved in Queensland, Australia, the foster system. She was the advocate for foster systems, whatever. And so she took me along to one of the meetings. And during the meeting, she just started breastfeeding. And it just because I was hungry. Yeah. And it didn't occur to her that was an issue. She caused an enormous storm.
Excellent.
Enormous. There was all of this like hoo-ha, that was groundbreaking, what a statement, that was extraordinary. And Mum was like, what are you talking about? My baby was hungry. Why would I not feed it? So she, Mum doesn't really pay attention to a lot of the noise. She just goes with her heart. I
want to meet this woman, honestly.
I know. She's awesome. I love her. I'm so lucky.
And that is a role model. You probably didn't realize it then, but you watched your mum taking things in her stride and thought, oh, okay, that's how she copes. I'll do the same.
Yeah.
How beautiful. Whilst my role models were rather uptight, broken people, and it was what it was. Not that my mum did anything on purpose to stuff me up or mess me around. No, I'm sure she did in her own belief system the best she could do for me, thinking that always look out for your children, however that played out. And I think I got nicely, royally stuffed up just because it was what it was.
Yeah.
So how interesting to compare my childhood, your childhood.
Yeah.
You had far more pathology there, but it was not hidden and not pushed under the carpet. It was actually, that's schizophrenia. Blows me away.
Yeah. and like my life hasn't been rosy by any stretch, and I've had other issues with other relationships, and but they haven't been traumatic for me. They've been very challenging, but I've been able to manage them through because of that background. And so it hasn't been rosy by any stretch, but I haven't been under the wagon. I really haven't. I've ridden the wagon, I've directed the wagon, and I'm really good at getting out of a bad situation. It's my superpower. So I navigate well, and I feel so blessed. My background gave me those skills, and the psychology, my training, I live it, I breathe it. It's not something theoretical to put onto other. There's people who you hear that they're financial advisors and they're broke. Yeah.
Too many of them. Yes. Too many
Not
of
the
them.
occasion here. Yeah.
I like it a lot. Okay. My goodness. It is, it's amazing. And because so many people cannot say that. So many people are victims to their own emotions. So the principles of core beliefs, etc. So you went straight when you were 18, you went into the study of psychology. Is that correct?
Yes. And I purposely took the long path because I wanted to come out older. Yeah. And so I did a clinical PhD. So what's that? That's like, well, I was basically in and out. I studied for 11 years. And so, you know, I came out as a young adult, not as a teenager.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
You know, so I really, I'm a doctor of psychology as much from strategy. I knew that I wanted to get a lot of life experience before. I mean, psychology, you're the kind of, you know, traditionally the elder of the tribe. How the hell can you do that if you're in your 20s? No, that's rubbish. So,
True. Having said that, I recently had a guest. She became a minister in her church at the age of 18. She actually founded a church at a very early stage. And I've asked her exactly that question. I mean, is there not imposter syndrome? Or how were your elders actually responding to you giving advice as an 18-year-old? And she said, look, you know, God spoke for me, Jesus spoke for me, he gave me the enthusiasm, and I was able to help, especially the youth. I was able to liaise with them. I used my strengths, etc. So I went along with that, and I made a lot of sense there in this setting. But for a psychologist, you know, if someone like me came to you and you were there, you know, 21, and that's right, I'm 50, I'm a high functioning alcoholic, I would not even look at you.
And that's valid. That's valid.
And
you know,
completely rightly or wrongly so. These are my prejudices. There's so many young people who can do amazing things. And like you don't have 11 years of training. You had, I don't know, when do you gain consciousness as a 5-year-old, 8-year-old, something like that? You were trained from the age of let's call it 8, from the age of 8 till you actually went into private practice, you know?
And it's not that they don't have the skills and a lot of capacity. It's just that they as an individual are going to continue to improve in their life skill and their development. And so, you know, I just wanted to come to the table when I was in a very strong space. And, you know, I experienced age prejudice until I was 33, which I think is valid as well. And then when I was 33, suddenly I was not experiencing age prejudice as being too young. Yeah. I'm 45 now, and I love being 45. It's Absolutely. A good age. Very happy.
I think your lifestyle, however, is very conducive to you looking younger. Do you still get to ask for a proof of identification for alcohol?
Not quite. I did see somebody, actually. I had a pretty, I've had different chapters in my life that have not been okay. And I saw someone during one of the not good chapters, which was 9 years ago. And then I saw him just 2 years ago, and I'm in a very good chapter of life now, thank goodness. And he just was like, fuck, you look younger. Like, you look drastically younger than when I last saw you, because you're just so damn happy. And like,
beautiful.
Yes. And it was true.
How beautiful is that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So was there any rebellion coming out? I mean, every teenager in every generation, going back 3,000 years to the Greek big ones, there's a beautiful description. This young generation nowadays, they eat with their mouth open. They're disrespectful to their elders. Look what they are wearing. And you read it and you think, yeah, sure. When was that written? Last year or in the 80s? No, it was written 3,000 years ago. Okay, so it's the curse of every generation that comes. We want to rebel against our elders. What was your rebellion like?
Can I give you a really peculiar answer? Okay. In the world of psychology, right, personality breaks in from children, breaks into two groups. So people are either negatively orientated or positively orientated. 3/4 are negatively orientated. So they're motivated to avoid the negative. So they're the ones that don't want to step out of the side of the mold. They don't want to get in trouble. If the parent growls at them, they'll be, oh no. 1/4 are positively orientated, and they're the ones, they don't like getting in trouble either, but they think, what do I want? What do I subscribe to? I'll do maths if I like maths, and if I like that teacher, and if I decide that I'm studious. If not, why would I do that? So I was positively orientated from the beginning. So it's not that I became rebellious. It's just that I never conformed, but I was not naughty. So I never went with what you do or how to be. It's not my framework. And I dare say you're positively orientated as well, from my reader view, which is great. Yeah. As you get older and personality gets far more complex as of course. But yeah,
so you never had a joint. You never had a drink of alcohol when maybe you were not allowed to, or you shouldn't have. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh no, what I'm telling you is that when you think what should I do, I never actually thought that way. I just always did what I wanted.
I see.
So there are lots. Yeah. So lots of did whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. Thank you very much. But but I also just didn't really want to do a lot.
Interesting.
So of course, I remember walking around the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam, stoned off my nut. And I almost fell over one of the paintings. So I did all that, of course, but wasn't that exciting. Didn't really do it for me. Alcohol, played with that here and there, but didn't really do it for me. Clubbing, I walked around and went, you're all idiots, really. I'm not impressed. So but if I felt like dancing, I'd go out. Do you know what I mean? Like my friends would go out every time. I'd go, am I in the mood? But then if I wasn't, so I don't know. Let me give you an example of this, what I'm trying to explain. And this is a very in-depth answer. I hope you don't mind. But when I went through school, right, I remember the beginning of school, grade 7 here in Queensland. And I remember saying, what's the system? Okay, the system is that when you're in grade 12, those grades go to uni. I knew I'd go to uni. I knew I was a bright academic kid. So I thought, well, all the grades from grade 7 to 11 are not going to help me. So why would I do them? Right?
Okay.
So what practical use does that make? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have fun. I'm going to be social. I'm going to be sporty. I'm going to learn stuff. So by the time I get to year 12, I've got the goods. But I don't care to pass or not pass. I don't care if the teachers know if I'm intelligent. I don't care that my mother is going to be just having heart attacks. I didn't do it to distress her, but I also didn't care. It wasn't adequate. So I failed grade 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then when I got to grade 12, I said to my friends, I'll see you in June. And absolutely blitzed it. And then went into psychology. And in psychology, you've got to be in the very, 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 very top cream to get into honours. So of 400 undergrad, only 13 got into honours, and I was one of them. So a straight high distinction student. And I'm a statistician, and I failed maths at school. So that's what I mean. You got it? Yeah.
Okay, I'll talk about rebellion. That goes for me under rebellion. Come on. You might not use that word, but
But I wasn't proving anything to any authority figures. It had nothing to do with them.
How cool is that?
I had no attitude with them. It just didn't make sense to me. Why would I do something that I don't prescribe to? Yeah.
But were you true? That makes sense in one way. But tell me or show me one youngster who has got it all sorted. Often enough, we have got beliefs that we absolutely swear upon as young people. Now, when you look back, you think, actually, you were an idiot. So therefore, whilst you were strongly believed in your gut was still developing. So therefore, there's a bit of a dangerous scenario building there. Obviously, it suited you well, but I think many other youngsters will have very similar convictions and might go drive the car straight over the cliff in the process. Would you not agree?
Yeah, well, obviously you've got to have a framework that's going to come around for you, and the conviction and the capacity to come through. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, it worked for you, for crying out loud. Look who you are.
Yeah.
But I think there's something to be said about such a self-motivation, such a self-drive. Did you get a kick out of learning? How did it feel for you when you learned?
Yeah, I remember very clearly when I would turn my brain on and say, I'm really interested in this. I loved it. So I loved biology. I loved economics. I loved English. I loved, analyzing literature.
Yeah.
I remember when they had work experience, and I knew I'd be a psychologist at that point. It was grade 10. That's when I figured it out. And they said, okay, we'll put down psychology. And I said, no. And they said, why? And I said, well, why would I do that? That means that I go and I make coffee. I'm not going to be allowed in the room. Why would they talk to a student? You're joking. No, I'm going to go to a theatre. I'm going to have fun. And so I went to a theatre and I worked backstage in a theatre for a week, and that was fantastic. And again, when I did that, I did it really well. So I jumped in and learned all about how the theatre works, the language, the props, and yeah. So I don't know.
Amazing.
There's no straight line for me. If I don't subscribe to it, I don't comply. But fortunately, my value system is very, very good. And
Indeed.
My core belief system is do not do harm. That is
beautiful.
My core belief. Belief. And I live by that. Very strong conscience. Very strong. Yeah.
Wow. And I must now fast forward, because the logical next question comes to my mind. What are your kids thinking about it? You have got a little collection of your own little munchkins. They're between 9 and 17? Do I remember that right?
Yeah, I've got 5 boys, and they're age 7, 9, 6, 16, 18, and 21.
Oh, goodness, so a bit more spread out.
Yeah.
Well, so how did that work out? You would think they should be absolutely grounded, baked, all sorted, or are they?
It would disturb you how psychologically aware they are. The language around the dining table is very astute, very reflective. They support each other. They talk about what's happening with each other. They check in with each other. They're in each other's corners with regard to, like, they'll say, look, I'm a bit worried about this with this one and this one. And yeah, no, it's almost like if someone grew up with a parent who was an artist, they're going to know about the paints. They're going to grow up with a hand in that craft. Well, my boys have grown up with the hand in the craft of psychology. There's no question. Their verbal and their emotional IQ is great. Don't get me wrong. They're kids and they've got their learning, and that's wonderful. And, they've got a long way to go in all different directions, and they're 5 completely different individuals. But I would say, compared to their peers, and definitely their capacity to stop, reflect, verbalize, check in, feel comfortable communicating, miles ahead. And we see that all the time. Yeah, so you could do a little case study on my 5 boys, my poor darlings. Mm-hmm. I think it's a good thing.
I think so too, because ultimately, if we ever come back to the field of addiction, we, as alcoholic dads or mums, we will forever think that we are shit parents. We will forever think that we must be guilty, we must be ashamed. And certainly there is a strong component there. So the making amends and actually shutting up and listening to your children's stories about you when you were not at your best. They are brutal. They're absolutely brutal. So that is certainly there. But at the same token, as a man who is now in recovery, my behavior is a million miles apart from the way I behaved in the past. So they have seen that. So whilst they actually do have the genes of an alcoholic, of an addict in them, they also have seen the growth, the transformation, the value of speaking out, of seeking help when you're not right. And that is amazing. So therefore, for all the guys out there, if you're like me in this boat of, oh my God, I'm now finally getting sober, but I stuffed up my children. The gift of sobriety and your transformation will undo any damage that you have done. You will be able to model behavior that they will see, wow, we've seen him as an asshole, and now we see him doing X, Y, and Z. Now that's beautiful. That's strong.
Absolutely. And human beings are so capable of change. They're so malleable. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And so for them to say, okay, yes, we have those memories, but we see Dad's skill set now, his availability to us, the role model that he is now. That is what their focus is going to be on, given that you also are acknowledging the past. And so, you know, they're malleable. They don't stick with history.
Yeah.
They update, they update, they update. Yeah, absolutely.
But
they do.
They need, when they say update, yes, it is an emotional bank account. You need to pay in there. And unfortunately, from now and then, you also have to face the music and face your actions from the past. And that's where in the 12-step system, really making amends is such a powerful step and such a painful step at times. I was certainly, oh my God, my youngest especially, he ripped into me when he found his voice. Oh, he tore the shreds of me. And it was hard.
You know what? He felt safe to do that.
True.
Right?
True.
So that says everything. He felt safe. He didn't think that was a dangerous situation. He thought you would care. He realized that you would care. And that facilitates that healing. So, you know, that's a two-way exchange, which is great. Can I say that as a parent, my anxiety, I think parent guilt is one of our strongest emotions, is because I am such an crazy energetic person, go, with passion, with absolute passion for things. Finding time for the kids, you know, and trying to balance that and trying to kind of like pull back the reins and go, whoa, slow down, stop doing, just be with your 7-year-old and your 10-year-old and you know, go and do stuff with the kids and be present. And I'm not bad at it, but I'm a work in progress and I'm always reflecting on it. And I'm not usually happy because there's more I want to, you know, so that's my struggle. I feel like as a parent, I think I love my kids. They're 100% my world. There's no question. I'm a mother duck like my mum, but I'm also someone who would probably have a good lifestyle as a single person because I'm just so into projects and doing, and but yet I can't do that because I prioritize my kids. So anyway, we're talking about parent guilt. That's the one that I find is constantly tapping on me on the shoulder.
Interesting. Very interesting.
A lot of working parents feel that way.
I mean, right now, the moment I said it, I thought, I'm sitting here on a Saturday afternoon interviewing, having a ball of a time. I have no idea what my sons are doing. Well, they're 19 and 21, so they're grown up. They you know, please. But at the same token, there is still this guilt there. I should spend time with them. And I think every parent will inevitably have that, regardless how much time they actually have spent. It will never be good enough. And this is one of those things where very few people will go away and will say, actually, I'm happy with the amount of input I've given into my children.
And if you were to say, okay, well, let's be a full-time stay-at-home parent, which is absolutely lovely and people's choice, there's negatives there as well, because we know mental health-wise, that's not optimal for the parent. You know, parents are much more inclined toward anxiety, depression, OCD, all sorts of things if they're a full-time parent.
Are they?
So,
I wasn't aware of those statistics. Okay.
Yes. So, you know, we have a big stress response to people who are overworked. Yeah. And then when people don't have enough time away, they can actually become quite weighed down, bogged down, lose perspective, and not be fresh for the kids because they're not having the adult.
Oh, of course not.
They're not having their own identity. So, you know,
absolutely.
Yeah. So part-time study is actually best for mental health with kids. So, you know, it's just really interesting. You can't win, right?
No, that makes perfect sense. It's basically burnout that you're heading towards as a parent. You don't have any respite. You don't have any. That makes a lot of sense. Of course.
And with kids, it's about quality, not quantity.
Touche.
No question. So,
touche.
Yeah, I've worked out my way to manage this is to have systems. So I have a system where when I come home from work, I do not pick up anything to do with my writing, which is my passion, until the kids are in bed. So I literally put my hands behind my back and I stop myself. In the
morning.
mornings.
Hang on. You've got a 21-year-old. He goes to bed at 3:00. So you're doomed, girl.
Well, I'm talking about the 7 and 10-year-old.
Yeah, okay.
But I also make sure that I go out and have one-on-one dinners with the boys. Because that level of bonding and connecting is really beautiful.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And we don't always have family dinners because often people are off at doing this. But, on the weekends, we well and truly do. And yeah. And in the mornings, I put down what I'm reading and have the big cuddles with the 7-year-old, and the 10-year-old doesn't come in anymore. He likes to go off and do his thing. But so I create structures to kind of make myself stop because I am really passionately enjoying reading, writing, whatever I'm doing.
And you need that passion. I saw you earlier, guys, in the preamble. We had a bit of a thing. I sort of asked Kirsten, tell me a bit about your writing. You should have seen her eyes. Ring, and there was this glow emanating from her, and I'm writing this and I do that and that, and it's just I had to laugh to myself. So share a bit with the audience. What are you writing on? Tell us what you have done.
Okay. So approximately 13 and a half years ago, I started to be in session and be really frustrated that so much information could be shared with clients, but we didn't have enough time to cover it all. And so then my brain, because I have a methodical brain, my brain started thinking, well, I could write this and they could read it. And I could write this and they could read it. I could write this and they could read it. So then I started to kind of do a brainstorm. So that went for about 10 years of me brainstorming what I could write about. And it wasn't that I wanted to write books. It's that I wanted to get the information to people. Because the thing about psychology is you can go pick up one book on, say, attachment, and you have to read a big, thick book to read on one topic. And psychology is like, easily I could say 400 straight away that affect us within a week. Yeah. So how do you cover the expense? So anyway, that was in my head for 10 years. And then I started writing. So it took me 3.5 years to write. Basically, it's kind of like a Bible of psychology that covers the expanse of clinical areas. And I narrowed it down to 205 areas that we swim around in day out. So if you want to be an expert on your own psychology, this is what you want to know. Then I spent 1.5 years publishing it. And here they are. Got them all here.
Woo!
Yes.
And I love it.
Yeah, bestseller, and they're doing really well. So anyway, while I was writing, these are called Signposts for Living. While I was writing these, I got bored because I don't do one thing at a time. I have to do 2 or 3. And I started to think about fiction. And so I started writing psychological puzzle mysteries. So psychological fiction, really looking at the psychology of it. So you could call it a cozy mystery that's really quite, figure it out. And so I started to write them at the same time as Signposts. And then I constructed 6 books, another 6. What's with 6, hey? Oh. And so in the process of writing these, I wrote two fiction books at the same time. And the fiction books were kind of a release from this because this is kind of heavy, although this is light and conversational, but I had to do a lot of thinking. And so when I finished with Signposts for Living, I had these 2 other books ready to go as well. And I've also, so the first one's called Murder at the Narcissist Gardening Club. Do you like that? Mystery of Placid House. And then the third one I've written, and the other 3 I've also drafted. So that was happening. And those 2 fiction are with the publisher as we speak. And they're coming out in the next, 4 months or something. And then I accidentally wrote 4 children's books. I didn't mean to. And they're psychological as well. And so basically they're really deep topics, like You Are Gold, about self-worth. I'm an Outsider. My Thoughts Are Trash and Treasure. And there's another one, Grit Superhero. And I'm collaborating with an exquisite illustrator who's kind of a bit manga.
All right. Okay.
So, yeah. And so they're literally with the publisher right now too. So excellent. I'm publishing 12 books in 12 months. Yeah. I
love it. And that is that kind of focus. But what are you doing? You're essentially what you had a dream, and you thought that dream is nice. And then you actually visualized it. You actually made it a vision by being actually crystal clear in what you want to achieve, and actually putting the puzzle pieces together in your thoughts. And then you forget out, okay, I really want to do that. So your dream became this vision, and then you made it a mission. And you took actually steps to achieve that. So the mission had now action attached to it. And before you blinked, 3 years were finished, and you had this beautiful set of books that you could be proud of. And there was the sense of achievement, and you're getting a bit addicted to that. And it's like, whoa, that was a cool ride. So, and that's exactly what is happening here. Look at her. Here, the addiction, finally, she's caught. She's not just addicted to psychology, but also to writing now, because it's so beautiful.
It's true. It's true. And I've actually heard other writers say this themselves, that people say, how do you find time to write? And it's a case of, that's like saying, how do you find time to watch TV?
Oh, exactly.
It's the thing you reach for. And if I don't write, I get grumpy. I get cranky. So at the moment, I'm taking some time out to do lots of marketing because I've got a lot of jobs to do. So I'm not writing at the moment, and I'm getting cranky. I'm getting irritated. Whereas when I write, I wake up at 5 a.m. I write till 6:30 every morning. At the moment I'm doing marketing, but and I get my boost. I get my mojo. I fuel up, and I'm bubbly for the day. And then at nighttime, after the kids in bed, if I'm in the mood, I'll do some more writing. And so it is like a drug. It is like a drug, because when I do that, I go into, you've heard of state of flow. So I go into a state of flow, time disappears. My imagination is just, and I'm lost, and I'm so joyful. And on top of this, with what we've talked about, I've also got 2 more non-fictions that are already written that I just need to polish, and that'll be next year. And then I've got 2 more fictions that are completely different, and I didn't choose to formulate them. My brain just does. My brain's, I feel like I can't take credit for anything because everything's subconscious. My brain creatively, and also with my skill set, says, hey, this is a really cool idea. And I'm the scribe. I scribe. So and I feel incredibly blessed because I've found something I just love doing. And as well as psychology.
Oh, exactly. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. To hear your joy of life coming out, that is beautiful. That is a joy of life that is true. That is, and that's not running away from something. That is not hiding something. This is actually literally creating and letting the creative juices fly out of your fingers. And that's the cool thing. And for you guys out there, you might be amazed about the power of writing. If you really actually start writing things down, start to journal, start to actually talk about your emotions, you might be amazed what comes out. I had, when I wrote my Steps to Sobriety here, when I wrote this one, the first edition, I hit a bit of a writer's block one day, and I didn't actually know what I should write about that day. And I forced myself to write. It's a technique where you just say, you will write now. And doesn't matter, you write. You just literally, whatever comes out, comes out. If it is heap of shit coming out, it comes out. And suddenly I had this kind of out-of-body experience where I saw my fingers typing, and I sort of looked at my fingers and thought, what the hell am I writing there? And things came out. Goosebumps. So as if a foreign power is controlling my hands. So my subconscious wanted to tell that part of the story. And it was one of the better chapters that I'd written. And I thought, where the hell is that coming from? And that was amazing. And as you say, you blink and an hour is gone. Absolutely. And you have written, I don't know. I mean, I was asked, would I like to be part of a multi-author project? And I thought, okay, why not? And they gave me the remits of it. And I thought, okay, I'm going to write that. Well, I started writing, and the weekend was gone. And I had done 5,000 words, and it was done and dusted, handed it in. But it was amazing. This kind of really, whoa.
And of course, for people, it doesn't need to be writing, does it? I mean, I know so many people, someone who's gone and discovered the study of gems, somebody else who loves painting, somebody else who loves leather work, somebody else who loves pressed flowers, or they love reading about philosophers, or, like whatever floats your boat. Obviously, my beautiful, beautiful husband is a professional freediver, and that's his passion, and his 16 years, his career. We live on a mountain in Toowoomba, not by the ocean. So problem.
Yeah, I see something happening there.
Yeah. And it's easy for him to go to Bali and dive for a period of time than to access it from where we live. So, there are limitations, of course, to hobbies, but, he's creative. He goes and spends his time skilling up in the pool and studying and getting his body into that refined form that it needs, like lots of preparation. So, it's really finding your passion. And some people don't find their passion till later in life. Hey, but I think it's just keep looking.
Well, exactly. Be open, be curious, be ready to take anything on. I had a beautiful guest on, Michael Carrasquillo. He was a military man on the spearhead of the American military, really hard-ass guy, until a machine gun had different thoughts about his future. And he basically, picked himself. Well, yes, he got picked up on the battlefield. He ended up being physically okay, but mentally he was a mess with PTSD and a complete loss of identity, being suddenly no longer able to actually be the soldier that he was so proud to be. And he basically lost himself in the wilderness, literally lived in a cave. And then one day, finally, he listened to some of the vets who were sort of trying to get him in. They said, hey, you know what? We are trying to learn golf. Do you want to come along? And he finally said, okay, why not? I learn how to golf. And then another guy came and said, hey, look, we are going to this stand-up comedy. Do you want to learn how to be a comedian? Do you want to do some stand-up? And he's like, fuck it. Okay. Yeah, I go. Nowadays, he's a comedian. He would have never known in a million years that he would be standing on stage as a comedian. But here he is, because he was willing. He finally had enough in a pity tent over there and allowed himself to come out and experience life. And he completely had no more inhibition and said, okay, yep, what do we do today? Today we do that? Cool, let's do it. And suddenly there was something that caught him. And in this case, it was comedy. And he loves it. And that is that freedom that we all have. We all have at any one moment in time. We can make choices. Sometimes our circumstances are a bit harsh and there are not so many choices, but still you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond to it. And that is beautiful. And that, once you taste that freedom, is beautiful. And now that you give yourself that freedom of choosing how to respond, you could also say, well, okay, if I can choose that, then maybe I can choose also to find joy, maybe in something that I never thought I even considered. And, what a beautiful thing that is. So here you are reinventing yourself as a writer and obviously throwing yourself in there. And good on you. That's all I can say. Well done for doing that. Where will you go? I mean, at the moment you've got your plan and you seem to be pretty sort of planned out in your life. First of all, where do you get the energy from? That should be the first question. Where do you draw the energy? Because there's only so many hours in the day, and you give a lot to your patients, and you give a lot to your family. Then you give a lot to your writing. So hang on, where's the battery? Where do you plug in?
But that's like saying I drive my car so much. This is the fuel, right?
True. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good point.
It's the fuel. I must admit, there's the unsexy things you have to do. Like no matter what your publishing situation is, you have to do all the marketing, and there's lots to do there, and it's not particularly sexy to me. But I'm also a very self-disciplined person, so jobs to be done, get them done, and then go and have fun. you know. But no, I really, it's a case of when I can get to it, I want to get to it. So that's really, really pleasant. And also I have a personal, I can't stand it when people say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. But I have a pet hate with that, to be honest, because, well, I just think personally, I don't tell anyone I'm going to do it until I'm halfway through it being done.
I see. I see. Mm-hmm.
Because as I've said to you before, I'm internally driven. I'm not externally driven.
Yeah.
So it's very private for me what I'm going to be doing, and I will get in and get started with that, and then I'll let people know as I go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I know that we can all have these aspirations, and they won't actually happen unless we become very serious with our application. So that's why I'm very serious with creating structure so that I sit my ass down and I write. And nice. I give myself deadlines where, you know, I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing that. I love working with editors and publishers because they're people who are waiting for something. And so that gets me to kind of push towards that. So I have, I'm very timeline orientated because there's so much more I want to do in the future. And also I know that if I'm not, I'll just keep being that person who says, I'm going to do this. And how's that going to happen if you don't make it happen? So nice. I think I've got a lot of strengths that complement. I've got a lot of creativity. I'm a very lateral person, but I'm also a very methodical person with an extreme work ethic. I've got a very strong work ethic. I also have a job that I recharge from, you know. So don't get me wrong, I definitely have some clients that drain me, but majority of clients, I actually recharge from because I love my job. So I do sometimes come home and I'm very tired, but not usually. And you know, time with the kids, obviously there's exceptions, but I recharge there as well. So I think it's about engineering your life so that you recharge in each of the roles if you can. And then it's just this positive momentum that keeps flowing beautifully. Yeah. And can I say that I think I mentioned in our little chat earlier that 13 and a half years ago when I started thinking about Signposts for Living, I couldn't have written then because I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy in life. And so I think for me, it's a combination between being happy and then this makes me happier. I think for me, I don't know if I'd be capable of writing if I wasn't in a good headspace to begin because it is such a creative process. So that's a really interesting question as well. When people are wanting to reach for passions, are they able to at that point or are there barriers, you know?
Interesting.
So really, timing might be important.
And the whole process of writing is such a beautiful thing. And there will be obstacles there and you will get to know yourself more. It is such a therapeutic thing. I need to highlight it again. I mean, I'm working at the moment on 4 multi-author books. On the first 2 are on depression from a male perspective and from a female perspective. And to actually see people grow, often enough authors who have always thought about it, maybe they want to write something, and to actually do 5,000 words is actually a really nice, lovely start. But there is always this actually that verbalizing and writing things down. And when you talk about your own emotions, you're opening up wounds. You might have to do more healing. You might have to do a lot of growing. There will be frustration. There will be, you have written something you're proud about, and then your editor comes back and says, really? You know, and it is a growth, inevitably, whatever you do. And it's a very healthy thing, but it can be a very interesting journey. So can
I tell you a funny story?
Sure.
If you said to me, what's one of my highlights from last year, 2021, I would say having a hysterectomy. Weird, right? Yeah.
It's a rapid weight loss program that normally I would not actually recommend too much, but
hear me out. The reason is that I was so excited to have, I love my job, right? But I had 2.5 weeks, because I didn't take the 6, right? 2.5 weeks where I was alone and had my own space. And so in 2.5 weeks, I wrote the third fiction book, the San Sebastian Passenger. I wrote the 65,000 word book in 2.5 weeks. I'd already done the scaffolding. I already knew what it was going to be, but I hadn't written it. And I just, every day I would wake up and go, yes. And I'd sit there and I would write all the time. I did not watch one single TV show in my healing, none. Nice. And it got so bad that I was getting RSI on my fingers. The letters aren't on my keyboard anymore on certain.
Excellent.
Yeah. And I didn't need any pain relief at all. And yeah, apparently, because my brain was in such a happy space. I was just in my parasympathetic the whole time. I was just having so much fun. And so it was an absolute highlight. It was fantastic. Beautiful. And yeah, so there you go.
No, I do, please. And that's something that you get into. I've been doing now for prior to Omicron and COVID. Every year before Christmas, we take time out, and from here to Fiji, it's 3 hours straight, and there's no time difference. It's just in the morning you're in Auckland, and in the afternoon your feet are in the sand in Fiji. So love it. So, and I would go just before Christmas for a week or 10 days to Fiji, and it would be my writing time. So I would write something there. It would be a writing holiday, because it is that relaxed feeling. When I was a student, I spent a month in Turkey, and there I was, and I remember that feeling. I only had one topic with me, a medical topic, and I was sitting there on this beautiful Turkish shore there. I was having a beer in front of me. I was sitting in a bar, basically overlooking this azure blue Mediterranean, eating fresh fish that had been caught that morning, reading in the most relaxed way. And that topic that I studied that month in Turkey, it was my best topic. It was the highest achieving in there, and that taught me a lot. So yes, it was actually. There's so much to be said about creating the circumstances that then allow you to go nuts.
I think your circumstances sound better than mine.
No, well, true. But no, that actually, yes and no. You can't do anything about the reasons for the hysterectomy. There is something there in your body where there's a damn good reason that you had to get your uterus out. So end of the story. Now, you could either now say as a woman, oh my God, I'm losing my identity, or I am all these kind of negative emotions. Or you could say, okay, fair enough. That is something that has to occur. But now what do I make out of it? Because I've been taken out of my hamster wheel. Like it or lump it. So you can't just keep running. So where do I want to go with that? And that's what I often talk to my patients about when they come for surgery. And I tell them, hey, look, with your shoulder surgery, you're going to be 6 months in a sling. So, how will you celebrate? What will you do? Yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean?
You've got to get on board. You've got to get on board.
Exactly. So this is your unique opportunity. When was the last time that you had 6 weeks holiday? Actually, no, I started working when I was 16. Yeah, exactly. And so therefore that is how the power that we get, the privilege that we get, how we respond to something. You chose to go very different than probably most other women. Is that fair to say?
Yes, and now a whole lot of women have had a hysterectomy because I've inspired them all.
Yeah, exactly.
They all want to be super women now too.
No, there's a lot to be said. So you were a woman who is taking life and modeling it. I love the way that you say that the human mind is so pliable and that you can do so much with it. You're doing the same with yourself, and that is actually a damn good skill to have. So Kirsten, you're an amazing woman. I mean, this was an amazing interview. Thank you so much for actually showing me a different side of psychologists that I had not seen. I had not met a psychologist such as you. So thank you very much. There is
no worries.
I've learned
lots of fun.
I've learned so much today, so that is cool. But yeah, there's so many lessons to learn for those of you out there listening, and to see that the power of choice, and then the power of taking action, doing something. That is where the magic starts. And it's okay from now and then to have a pity party and just roll up in a ball and feel sorry for yourself. That's all good. We all become victims at one stage in our life. Things do happen to us. But if we make it a habit of looking after ourselves, of actually training our mind, our body, giving the body the right food, both as real food, but also as the nourishment that we need with regards to the rest, the recreation, joy, laughter, all the positive things that allow you to sharpen the saw. And then you can go back to work and actually go out there. Well, that is beautiful. And most of us, sooner or later, we keep forgetting it. We might do it on the 1st of January, and we might even do it on the 2nd of January. And then most of us are just, fuck it. Out it goes. Okay. And that's, if we can actually make that every day, make time for yourself. That is where the magic happens. So guys, make right now. So after you have looked down there into the description where you can actually find Kirsten, tell us, Kirsten, where can they find you if they want to know more about you?
Well, I have a website, kirstenhunterauthor.com, and Instagram as well, Kirsten Hunter Author. What have we got? We've got Twitter, Kirsten Hunter Author. You're racking my brain here now. And
guys,
help me.
Even Kirsten can't remember. So the easiest thing is go down there into the description of the YouTube channel and of our podcast, because it's all down there. And whilst you're down there, press the like and press the subscribe button, because there's so many gorgeous people who are coming onto my show and who are teaching me so much. And they are, guys, go out there and you get it all for free. You don't have to pay for that. You've had 60 minutes with this gorgeous woman who actually opened my eyes in a few ways, and just shows what is possible. So beautiful. So thank you very much, Kirsten, to you.
Absolute pleasure.
You're an amazing woman, and I just really wonder who you will be when you grow up. I mean, it's just
Don't do that. Don't do that.
No, true. But you're going to get to reinvent yourself. So right now we're talking to Kirsten Hunter, who is the author, who is really getting buzzed about that. Who knows who she is in 5 years' time? And that's the amazing thing. So to you guys out there, who will you be? Who do you want to be? You get to make that choice. So what will it be? So I believe in you guys out there. Stay strong, look after yourself, and just live with passion, because that's what this is all about. Bye. Kirsten, you look after yourself as well.
See ya.
Bye.
Dream on, dream on, dream on.